James is a normal man. James got startled by the ringing school bell. He was not even finished with his presentation about bonds, and yet his students were gone, already. He laughed to himself, not at all worried about the weather getting progressively worse. He could hear the rumbling, see the dark clouds in the sky. He closed all the windows, as well as the projector. He took great care in erasing any traces of writings on the blackboard. The classroom was now barely illuminated by what little light there was outside. He wore his winter coat, his gloves and scarf and swiftly exited the classroom, locking the classroom door behind him. The winter chill was unrelenting, the wind wheezed through the trees, the first snowflakes were starting to fall. Cold as they were, James was forced to run to his car. He drove for quite a while. How unlucky he was, to have to work so far from home. An hour's worth of driving later, James finally saw his house on the horizon. That old, and yet well-kept building. Was it built during the war, or perhaps earlier? He could never tell. Once he finally unlocked that wooden door, the sole barrier between himself and his beloved armchair, it was snowing hard. Oh, that smell. It was Martha's perfect chicken soup. Perfect, that is what James called it. He would always ask her to make it when it was cold outside. He kissed his wife, with her just barely having time to make the table before James rushed in, ready to eat. After a lovely lunch, James decided to take a hot bath, and get started on correcting his students' assignments. He moved upstairs, undressing and getting into the tub. He was so tired. When he was done, he wore a white collared shirt, blue slacks and his favorite vest, now ready to get to work. He went into his office, opening his briefcase and staring outside at the snowfall. It had gotten dark quickly, the clouds now having a dark blue hue. He turned the old lamp on his desk on, and got a red marker to aid him in his task. A few A's, an A+ and quite a lot of BS and CS later, he was finished. He glanced at the old clock that stood above his bookcase, 1:20. How quickly had the time passed, he thought to himself. He went to check on his wife, silently sleeping. How lovely, how peaceful she was. Even as she laid on their bed, he admired her beauty. That lovely smile she had on her face, even asleep, reminded him of their constant joy together, the never-ending happiness. He went downstairs, grabbing a mug. He was going to make a big dose of coffee and read a nice book. Moby Dick, that was his chosen book. He must have dozed off on his armchair. It was 7:32 now. On the kitchen table there was a note reading, "I went to help my mum with cleaning out the snow, see you when I get home, kisses, Martha." He sighed, sad to be unable to see his wife. He stared outside at the driveway, blocked by snow, still. He did not think much of it. He lit up the fireplace and turned the telly on. He had a weekend of relaxation, finally. Christmas was just around the corner, anyway. He decided to treat himself to a nice breakfast, his belly urging him to. After a quick toasting and buttering of some bread, he ate and washed the dishes. He even decided to shovel the driveway, as well as the doorway. The thick, dense snow covered the ground as well as the branches of the trees. There was a large forest behind his and Martha's house. His nephew always called it scary. James did not pay much attention to it. He found it to be quite atmospheric in nature. He got done shoveling an hour, perhaps two later. He opened the garage, to find his car still there. Strange, thought James. Did Martha go to her mother's flat on foot? That would be a bizarre decision, especially considering her hatred for all things cold and the snow that had covered everything outside. Regardless, James ignored it. It was midday now, maybe 13:53, when James decided to warm up yesterday's soup. He was not quite sure of what recipe Martha used, but it certainly was delicious. James felt tired again. He took a nap until 6 p.m. He woke up, feeling a tad bit cold. He decided to go downstairs and use that old phone to call his wife. Where was she even? Before even getting a chance to think, the phone rang, loudly enough to be heard throughout the entire house. James rushed to get it, just barely missing it. He felt angry. He could not find the number. His sight became dark for a second, maybe two, maybe more. Nevertheless, he opted for another hot bath to warm up. A grey cardigan, white collared shirt, black slacks, and shoes. That is what he wore this time around. He always dressed like a man double his age, despite still being in his mid-30s. James saw the sky darken once more, now covered by clouds, no longer bluish in tone but pitch black. He saw thunder in the distance. A myriad of thoughts crossed his mind. Knock knock. That is the sound his office walls echoed. Running downstairs, he went to the front door. Once open, it would reveal nothing more but snow, leaves and cold, winter air. Disappointed, angry, enraged, James walked upstairs, the staircase creaking, submitting to his every movement. What an old, old house it was. James went back into his bedroom. It was there that he came face to face with his old hunting rifle, passed on to him by his father. He loved hunting. He was good at it. Never missed his mark. Fondly, he grabbed it, loading it as he did it. Rifle in hand, he went downstairs. His walls echoed that same damn knock. The same phone rang throughout his skull and his mind was filled with a sense of rage. He would smash that phone. Once more, he walked to his front door. He opened. He raised. He aimed. He fired. Bang! And the ringing stopped, the knocking as well. Now, the only thought James had was to find a place in the woods. A pretty place. A place for that bloody, rotting corpse of whom he once loved and called his wife. Now, though, it was nothing more than a stain on the floor, the ground. Small rivers of blood were going through the white snow. All the memories, the burning passion that transformed into a quiet peacefulness with each other, was nothing more but a bullet wound to the throat and a tear in the snow. Oh, Martha, how much I loved you,